The sun rose over the vast Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya, casting a golden blanket over the endless grasslands. The crisp air carried the scent of earth and wild grasses, mingling with the chirping of birds, creating a tranquil symphony of the wilderness. Amidst this scene, Kamau, a seasoned park ranger with graying hair and a weathered gaze, started his old Land Rover. Kamau had dedicated over 30 years of his life to protecting the creatures here. From his youth until age began to leave its mark on his face. Every day, Kamau began his patrol, not out of duty but out of a deep love for this land and its inhabitants. He wasn't just a protector, he was a silent friend, a devoted guardian of the Masai Mara. Experience had taught him how to read every footprint on the ground, how to listen to the slightest sounds in the bushes, and how to sense even the smallest changes in the ecosystem. Because of this, he could always tell when something was amiss. One particularly peaceful morning, as the sun still lingered behind distant mountain ranges, Kamau was driving through a marshy area where herds of wildebeest and zebras often gathered. Suddenly, he noticed a strange, murky streak of water extending from the edge of the marsh deep into the muddy ground. Instantly, a premonition of danger rose in his heart. This streak was too clear, too straight to be from the normal movements of animals. Kamau stopped the car, turned off the engine, and got out. He carefully followed the water trail, his sharp eyes scanning every small detail. As he got closer, a heartbreaking sight met his gaze: a young black rhino, its large body struggling, caught in deep mud. Its juvenile horn was already covered in mud, and its dark eyes showed clear panic and exhaustion. Kamau immediately recognized it as a young rhino he had been monitoring since its birth, and he had named it Tumaini, which means hope in Swahili. Kamau's heart ached. Black rhinos are critically endangered, and every individual is incredibly precious. He knew there was no time to lose. This mud trap could swallow Tumaini if it wasn't rescued quickly. The problem was, Tumaini was too big and too heavy, and he couldn't pull it out alone. Furthermore, mother rhinos are usually very aggressive when protecting their young, and Kamau didn't see the mother rhino anywhere, which worried him even more. Kamau quickly returned to his vehicle, grabbed his radio, and contacted the center. "I have a young rhino stuck in the marsh northwest. I need urgent assistance, as fast as possible." His voice was tense, but he maintained the necessary calm. While waiting for backup, Kamau decided to do what he could. He took a large tarp from his car and cautiously approached Tumaini. The young rhino was still struggling, splashing mud everywhere. Kamau spoke to it in a gentle, reassuring voice, as if talking to a child. "Calm down, Tumaini. I'm here. I'm going to help you." He tried to slide the tarp under Tumaini's belly to create leverage, hoping to reduce the friction of the mud. This was incredibly difficult and dangerous. Every time Tumaini tried to move, Kamau's body swayed. Sweat poured down his forehead. But he didn't give up. He knew Tumaini's life depended on him. About half an hour later, the sound of another Land Rover engine echoed from afar. It was the rescue team, led by Juma, a young ranger whom Kamau had mentored since his early days. When they saw Tumaini struggling and Kamau trying to assist it, Juma and the other colleagues quickly sprang into action. They brought ropes, wooden planks, and necessary tools. "We'll tie ropes around its body and use the car to pull it," Juma said, his eyes filled with determination. Kamau agreed, and together they secured strong ropes around Tumaini. The young rhino was still scared, but it seemed to sense the good intentions from these humans, so it didn't react too violently. They carefully placed wooden planks under Tumaini's feet to provide more leverage and prevent it from sinking deeper. "We'll tie ropes around its body and use the car to pull it," Juma said, his eyes filled with determination. Kamau agreed, and together they secured strong ropes around Tumaini. The young rhino was still scared, but it seemed to sense the good intentions from these humans, so it didn't react too violently. They carefully placed wooden planks under Tumaini's feet to provide more leverage and prevent it from sinking deeper. The rescue was incredibly tense. The roar of the engine, the creaking of the taut ropes, and Tumini's labored breaths filled the air. The whole team worked in coordinated rhythm, pulling little by little. Finally, after nearly an hour of struggling, Tumini was slowly pulled out of the deep mud. It lay panting on the firm ground, covered in mud, but its eyes glowed with gratitude. Kamau and Juma quickly checked Tumini's condition. Fortunately, it wasn't seriously injured, just scratched and exhausted. They used clean water to rinse off some of the mud and gave it a mild stimulant injection to help it recover quickly. When Tumini was more stable, it slowly stood up, its steps still a bit wobbly. It turned its head, looking deeply into Kamau's eyes for a long moment. A profound and inexpressible gaze. Like a silent thank you. Then, Tumini slowly walked towards the sparse forest, blending into the dense bushes. Kamau stood there, silently watching until Tumini's silhouette disappeared. His heart was filled with joy and serenity. He knew he had done the right thing, that he had protected a precious creature of the Masai Mara. The following weeks passed, and Kamau continued his daily patrols. He still often passed by the marshy area where he had saved Tumini. But he never expected to see it again. After all, this was the wild, and animals have their own lives. One afternoon, as the sun began to set, painting the western sky crimson, Kamau was driving on a familiar dirt road. Suddenly, he saw a large, dark gray silhouette standing in an open clearing not far away. His heart pounded. It was a grown black rhino, and it was looking directly at his vehicle. Kamau stopped the car, holding his breath as he watched. The rhino didn't show any aggression, it just stood there, motionless. Then it slowly moved closer, its steps steady and majestic. As it got close enough, Kamau recognized it immediately. It was Tumini. It had grown much larger, its juvenile horn now long and powerful. But what surprised Kamau the most was its eyes. They were still those expressive dark eyes, and in them, he saw recognition and something like a welcome. The story of Kamau and Tumini quickly spread throughout the Masai Mara National Reserve. Kamau's younger colleagues, who were initially skeptical, were now amazed by this strange relationship. They began to call Tumini the guardian ghost of Kamau, because it appeared so naturally and seemed to always keep an eye on him. Many tourists visiting the Masai Mara were also curious to witness this unique friendship. One day, a serious incident occurred. A group of armed poachers infiltrated the reserve, targeting the precious rhinos. Gunshots echoed, tearing through the tranquility of the plains. Kamau, along with the ranger team, quickly deployed to confront them. The chase was tense. Kamau and a young colleague named Saifiza got separated from the main group while pursuing a group of poachers into a dense bush area. They were moving cautiously when suddenly, a poacher hidden in the bushes fired at them. The bullet grazed Saifizo's shoulder, making him fall. Kamau immediately sought cover, but their position was too exposed. The sound of the poacher's footsteps was getting closer, and Kamau knew they were in real danger. Just then, a thunderous roar ripped through the air, making the ground tremble. A massive dark silhouette charged out of the bushes. It was Tumini. The adult rhino, with its sharp horn and colossal body, had appeared like a guardian deity. It didn't attack directly but stood blocking the path between Kamau, Saifiza, and the poachers. Tumini's roars reverberated continuously, full of power and fury, making the poachers hesitate. They hadn't expected to face such an aggressive rhino. Fearing an attack, the poachers eventually fled, disappearing deep into the forest. Kamau and Saifiza breathed a sigh of relief. Kamau quickly rushed to Saifiza to administer first aid to his wound. When he looked back at Tumini, the rhino was still standing there, like a living statue, its eyes fixed on the direction where the poachers had fled. Kamau approached Tumani, gently rubbing his hand over its sturdy horn. "Thank you, Tumani. You saved our lives." Tumani snorted softly, then turned its head, its dark eyes looking at him with trust and understanding. The bond between them, already deep, now became indestructible. After that incident, the story of Kamau and Tumani became a living legend within the Masai Mara. It wasn't just a story about a ranger and a rhino, but a symbol of harmony, gratitude, and the ability to heal the wounds inflicted by humans. Kamau continued his work, and Tumani still occasionally appeared on his patrol routes, as a reminder of an extraordinary connection. Every time dusk fell over the Masai Mara plains, Kamau would look up at the crimson sky, where bird silhouettes soared freely. He knew that somewhere within this vast land, Tumani was living its life, healthy and peaceful, and in his heart, the glimmer of hope named Tumani would forever shine, reminding him of his noble mission, to protect and cherish every living creature in this magnificent wilderness.